I have this really vivid memory. Standing outside the youth service of my synagogue, and I rested my head against the wooden doorpost, and the music flowed out and just spoke to my soul. I felt a sense of peace, and I had the knowledge that just for that short time, everything was going to be all right, and I was going to be fine. I was around 7 years old, and that's the first time I remember feeling safe. I want to talk to you about God. My God. It's a really personal topic for me, and it's actually quite hard because we don't talk about God. I grew up in a community with all of the rules about how I should pray and how I should act. And my home was difficult. I had a hard childhood. My family dealt with mental illness and alcoholism. And that really changed the house rules. I literally never knew what to expect when I walked in the door. And as I'm sure you can imagine, that was very unsettling. But I was lucky. I had some positive structure in my life. I went to a Jewish school, and I went to shul on Shabbat. And when I went to services, everything was different. That inner security, Avinu, the sense of a parent's love that I'd been looking for, that's what I felt that day. And right there, with my cheek resting against that cool wood, that was it. That was the start of my love of Judaism and my relationship with God. I believe in God. I believe that God is all around us. And I don't know how I got to this place. But this is a talk about God. And this is a talk about how many different relationships we can have with God and how you could find yours. Or perhaps you know somebody who struggles to understand how Judaism and God is relevant to their daily lives. There is a lot of judgment in all of our communities. And over the years, people have shared with me how they can't read Hebrew, they don't know the prayers, they're single, divorced, unhappy. They just don't fit the demographic. And I'm here to tell you that there is a place for you, and you can find your connection with God. When I was a child, I really wanted to fit in. I wanted to belong. But in my experience, we all want to belong. We're clan animals. We're a tribe, not just of Jews, but of human beings. And whether we belong to a synagogue, a family, a group of friends, or the country club, most human beings have a visceral need to connect with each other and with the wider world. And Judaism allows us to connect on a higher spiritual level. I'm a Jewish educator. I've spent my whole life with Jewish education, but I found that the conversation has become more about tradition and less about faith. And I want us to be able to talk about God. So how does God fit into our lives? Well, the world is swirling around me, and everywhere I look, there's something to be done, some injustice to fight, some help to be given, some laundry to fold. But I'm just one person, so I stop and I breathe. I center myself and I think of God. There are 70 names of God, and the Avinu Malkeinu shows us 2 faces of God. And how can that be? Until I relax and I remember that I myself am a different person every single day. And I too am created b'tselem Elokim, in the image of God. And just as God is infinite potential, we too, we are infinite potential. There are not just two faces of God, and we do not have to choose. I am sharing God without judgment. So let me tell you about my God. My God. My God is the God of Aaron and Moshe and David HaMelech. Aaron, who was instrumental in creating Egel HaZahav, the golden calf, and Moses, who was full of doubts and insecurities and did not follow instructions. And King David, who sent his best general off to battle to die so that he could have his wife. And yet, all of these people had a God that accepted those acts and raised them up. And they became leaders. And they're the people that our story is made of. Abraham Avinu, he couldn't find God amongst the idols of Terach, his father. He embraced change, and he found the relationship with God that he was looking for. And in the Talmud, it teaches us, if you change your place, you change your future. We can move on from our childhood God. We do not have to wander for 40 years afraid of what might happen or scared of negative reports. But it is hard to change ingrained patterns of behavior, and sometimes I still have that childish fear that maybe God will punish me if I don't practice just right. But the God that I embrace, my God knows that today could be a great day, and tomorrow I could do something really stupid. Or I'm feeling appreciative and I'm grateful and I want to make a bracha. But really, do I have to get out of bed and daven shacharit right now? Maybe I'll just say the Shema today. And my God is okay with that. Because my God is the God of kindness and love and acceptance. And my God does not make me feel inadequate. Because sometimes I don't act as well as I should. And I make mistakes. And I have doubts. But God is still there. So my God is reassuring me. My God is the God of acceptance and reassurance. And my relationship with God has to mirror that. So, as everything changes all around me, so too does my relationship with God, depending on my mood, my feelings, my sorrows or my joys. But above all else, I can connect with God at any time, in any place, wherever and however I choose. Moment by moment, I can start again, and moment by moment, I can connect with God. So I told my brother I was giving this talk, and he said, "Oh, it's a story about a little girl who needed a friend, so she made up an imaginary friend called God." And that's all right. He can believe that. You guys can believe that. But for me, it was always about the strength of knowing that God is always there. There is beauty in prayer, in repetition, in mindfulness, and the state of meditation that we can achieve when we pray to God. But for those of you who don't know how to connect with God, if you take one thing away from this talk, please know there's no right way to have a relationship with God. Nobody can judge you or tell you how you should pray or how you should connect with God. Your relationship with God is yours. Thank you.